If it's that damn bad that I can't have none of it, you know, disavow it. And I could be with you. Find a cave, live as a hermit, give everything you got back. I can respect that. But to keep driving it, keep living in it, keep shopping there, and doing all those things that come as a consequence of violence being perpetuated against the rest of us, and then tell me that I can't struggle back, I think that's hypocritical. I think that's hypocritical. Yes. And don't blame it on Jesus. Because Jesus said, remember when I told you if you had a cloak, get rid of it? He said, what I tell you today, if you got a cloak, sell it and buy a sword. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said, get some heat. Get strapped. And he said about another guy that y'all know, I'm going to leave this because I don't want to get into that kind of discussion. Because I'm just saying the people, the rationale they give for this, you know. But do you remember when the police caught Jesus in the garden, they waited till nighttime, like they came for Fred Hampton, when nobody was around to see it, right? And they came to bust him in the garden. And when they rushed in and Judas came and kissed Jesus, right? That's how the story goes. Said that Peter grabbed his sword, the one that probably he sold his cloak to get at Jesus' advice, and cut the guy's ear off. And said, Jesus said, chill out, Pete, and stuck the ear back on. An interesting bit of, I don't know if it was instant surgery or what have you, but he stuck the ear back on, right? This is what Peter did. The same guy who, according to the biblical story, betrayed, not betrayed, but when they said he was told that before the cock crows, what did he say? Before the cock crows 3 times. Said Pete, before the rooster calls out 3 times, before the alarm goes off 3 times, right? You're going to deny me. And Peter escaped from that situation, and they asked him, weren't you with Jesus? He said, Jesus is who? But about this guy who took the sword and cut the ear off, he said what? Upon this rock I build my church. That was no pacifist. That was Colin Powell or some other dangerous person working for the wrong people. So don't blame that on Jesus. Blame it on something else. But, it was a very difficult period that we organized the African People Solidarity Committee. And none of us knew exactly where we were going, except that I did have a vision about what our possibilities are. And that we had people who accepted that vision, some more seriously than others, obviously. But we're talking about people who've been now in the movement for 30 years, 34 years, 20 years, etc. That is genuine solidarity, genuine commitment. And there's a genuine and deep and profound appreciation for that. And now, we had a whole new place in terms of development of the revolutionary process in the world and the development of the revolutionary process inside this country as manifested by the African People's Socialist Party USA. And not just in this country, but the work that we're doing throughout the world. Because we had so few skills back then. We had so few skills because the movement that put these skills into the hands of African people and created what are now being characterized, or what have subsequently been characterized as opportunities, right, for betrayal, what it really was. Open up doors to schools, open up doors for certain jobs with institutions that never existed before, making it necessary for Africans to internalize our energies and our struggles to become free. Now, You have a situation where Negroes are succeeding not by supporting our own struggle, but those skills that came about as a consequence of children who face dogs and cattle prods. Now, the opportunities that they've achieved, they've taken it someplace else. So the revolution couldn't call on somebody who had this skill to join the revolution. The revolution had been repudiated by their individual success. So for us, it was a history of trial and error. We didn't have anybody who had the skills, but these are skills which are headquartered all the time in the white community. They're not just in individuals in the white community, but just as there is social wealth, because there are some white people who are not wealthy, right? But there's social wealth in the white community that benefits even poor white people. So just as there are some wealthy Negroes, but the condition of African people generally is social poverty. That has all kinds of implications. Libraries, that's available even to learn something on your own. A bookstore. I used to be amazed years ago when I used to go in Brooklyn. It's not the same way now, I understand anymore. But you couldn't even buy a New York Times in the African community. You could get the Post. You could get the Daily News. You could find out horoscopes and stuff like that. There's a difference in circumstances about social poverty and social wealth. Even the stuff that's available on a natural, just in the neighborhood, in the community, etc. Your neighbor. So we did not have these resources at our command. And they were not there for the service of the revolution. And that went on for a long time. And then in the meantime, however, we were able to win genuine solidarity. I never forget Comrade Penny Hess called me in the middle of the night and she says, Chairman, I'm about to be evicted from the collective that she was living in, APSC collective. And I said, what's up? And then, for the first time, I heard articulated the politic, the understanding that we had been trying to spread in that organization all along. For the first time, she said, because this is what I'm trying to say needs to happen. So let's call a meeting for tomorrow, right? And then as a consequence of that, we began to change the situation and put different leadership in place, and then it gave us a whole new trajectory. And then people who have been here, I want to respect that. We're at a different place today. The revolution is a different place. The demands are different now. And we are growing a capacity now that we never had before. Even APSC back then were the weirdos. You don't know what weirdo mean. I know, yeah, okay, we still consider. No. APSC back then were the weirdos. I'm talking about in what was supposed to be a white left or white liberals or stuff like that. I mean, you know, the kind of stuff, the slander. APSC is white lesbians working under the leadership of black men. This is the stuff that was coming out, you know, in the white left. And I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it must have been something nasty, you know. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said it. And I didn't know how the fellas in APSC felt about that, you know. You know, that's the kind of stuff that you hear. And you would hear from so-called revolutionary white communists that African People's Solidarity Committee wouldn't work because you couldn't get white people to work against their own interests. With the assumption being from these communists that working for black revolution was against the interests of the white workers and white people. This is the politics that we were up against. And this is not even the nastiest kind of stuff that did happen. So we had forces who stood there and who held the ground. These are the comrades who made it possible for us to be here today, welcoming now new comrades, bringing new skills and new talents to us. These are the comrades, you know, for whom we have to have so much. Same thing is true with the African People's Socialist Party. Now we're opening doors for all kinds of new comrades, but there have been people who've been with us with no skills at all, but had heart and conviction and believed in the revolution and went through all kinds of stuff. You know, house bombings, police, jailings, beatings and things like that. Being followed by the police, hounded, loss of jobs. I mean, went through all of that kind of stuff and held the fort. And now, what is happening in the world? What is happening in the world is changing because we were right then and we were right now. And it was harder for people to hear the vision and understand it, but some people did. It was harder for them to hear when everything, so to speak, was hunky-dory. But now, the world is clearly in a state of change, transformation. And reality is descending upon the consciousness of many more people. And if not in absolute terms, it is easier now for people to disengage to some extent from certain assumptions that they had about the permanence and the justness of a social system founded in genocide and slavery. So we appreciate seeing new comrades stepping forward. And some of the old forces won't be with us because it's a new period, but damn it, they made it possible. They held the fort when nobody else was willing to take it on. They held the fort. They held it. They made it possible for us to be here right now. So when you knock on the door here, the damn thing won't fall off the hinges. But the reason is like that, even as we come and appreciate it and accept it as our own and shit like that, excuse me, even the fact is that it's here now because of those who stood with us then. The reason we have this place is because of the folk who stood with us when the door fell off and who still stand with us today, who stood with us. I say this, I congratulate this conference. I congratulate all of our forces who have the vision. And I only state that what we have to do is recognize the significance of those forces who were here first, who were here. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in some kind of, way that, what do you call it, seniority stuff. But what I am saying is that we have to understand history. That's all I'm saying. We understand history and its significance. Because some of the people who were here a long time ago don't mean they're going to be here tomorrow. That's why sometimes we speak of some people say when they were revolutionaries, right? We speak of some organizations say when it was a revolutionary organization. But even as we speak about them, they made contributions then. We don't denounce that. We just denounce what they are now. Isn't that right? And the only thing I'm saying is I think it's really important for us to recognize the significance of this movement, the significance of all the work that brought us here, right? And especially by forces who did not betray us in the final analysis, because that has happened too. But there have been comrades who were pushed out of this movement. Where am I, comrade leader, time leader? Okay. And there have been comrades, and I know I've said this recently, and people we may reach a point now where I keep saying it, people think I've got a case of Ronald Reagan syndrome, but it's really not that. I really want us to appreciate the significance of our cadre, of our forces, our history, because that helps us to understand our own significance. You know, that we're not just some Johnny-come-lately entity, you know? And I think that some of the stances and sacrifice made by comrades in the past, helps to inform us of what our capabilities are. They say this is the metal, that shaped us. And not just, like the beatings that Comrade Ruby, there's a picture back there against the wall. And when we did the